Hey guys, my name is Onyx Flex. Today I'm joined by Benedict, an FTA gymnologist, and we're going to be going over Peridot. So if you aren't familiar with Peridot, I don't know how. I think you live under a rock because it's literally one of the most common vivid green gemstones out there.
And it's pretty easily recognizable, only comes in green. We'll talk about it later why, but there's only one color. It's bright apple green, sometimes a bit darker brownish. There's like a spectrum of greens. But it's pretty famous and you should know.
We're doing this video now because August is coming up and it is August Birthstone, so you are very lucky. It's a very popular gemstone and it does have a hardness of about 6.5?
6.5.
Yeah, 6.5. So it's a pretty good stone.
It's a pretty good stone. I mean, if we want to talk about the overall properties of the stone, it's a hardness of 6.5, so it's not like super soft, but it's not sapphire or like even quartz or tourmalines that are over 7. It's also a bit brittle and it's sensitive to acids, so like even like perfume or like soaps or the jacuzzi or the pool, it can change the surface. It's gonna abrade slowly the material. When people know that and they know how to take care of their peridot jewelry, I mean, it's still quite a durable and easy stone to wear.
Yeah, and like we're gonna touch on at the end like how to clean your jewelry because of it's a little bit more of a sensitive stone, which is not as common actually. It's very rarely that we have this come up. Before we get started, if you don't mind smashing that like button, hitting subscribe because it helps these videos perform and it's just so sweet. Also, we do want to know if you are an August baby. We will make sure to wish you a happy birthday. But yeah, so let's start off with the colors of Peridot. So we're gonna go over like a little bit of like the different ranges of color and where the color comes from.
Peridot, the reason it's green, it's due to iron. Iron is part of its chemical composition. So most stones, like sapphires, beryls, will have their color due to trace element. So they'll all have the same chemical composition, but then there's like trace amounts of chromium. It's going to be red. Iron is going to be blue. Peridot, we call it idiochromatic. I have quite a good way to remember them and look smart at your next family dinner. So when it's idiochromatic, it's already part of the stone's recipe. The stone doesn't have to make any effort. It can stay like idiot because it's part of him. Doesn't have anything to do. It's just green. And then allochromatic. So you know when you say, hey, hello, come here, come color me. So that's when the color is due to the trace element. So it's not part of the composition.
Yeah, I think like the best contrary to that one would literally be tourmaline because you can see as it's growing the color change of what's in its environment, right? So normally it'd just be a clear stone, but then it absorbs like manganese, I think for pink, and like green is
it can
chrome.
start green, and then over the year the soil is going to change and it's just going to grow a different color. There's a very few that are like peridot, and I think like there's turquoise and malachite that it's colored by copper, rhodonite that is pink because of the manganese, but there's not a lot of other stones like that. There's going to be a range of different color, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with the percentage of iron, but like it's gonna also have trace elements, and that's what's gonna affect if it's more brownish or more. There's many things, but there's the iron, then there's the trace element, and there's the level of oxidation of that iron.
Okay. Yeah, because that's like a common thing that I was seeing online was that everyone was saying that, okay, the perfect percentage of iron is between 12 to 15% and then after that it becomes brown, under that it becomes too pale. So you're basically saying no, that is not the result.
The studies that I read, like they did it on Tanzanian peridot, and it was lower in iron, so they thought it was going to be lighter. It's going to have but not really.
Not really. Okay.
I think the trace element are going to change like the undertones.
Okay. So whether it's more browns versus maybe a bit of a cooler tones, warmer tones.
I think it has to do, and they were also talking about how the iron kind of like oxides over the thousands and thousands of years.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about your stone going brown.
So I think they were talking about like how what's the level of oxidation of that the iron present.
Can we show some examples of the different ranges of color?
Yeah,
You pretty much have the
I have
classic.
the classic that people want. I don't have like the brownish. You'll find pictures on the internet if you look for that. My market is gonna be the nice green Peridot. But I have different origins, but as you can see, they will all look similar. Like this is Burma, Pakistan, Arizona, and they all they're pretty much the same tone.
So this is a general color. When you're going to be buying a stone, what are the common inclusions that you're going to look out for?
Most of them will look pretty much eye clean. If you look with a loupe or a microscope, you might find what we call lily pad inclusion. It's a little crystal that kind of bursts, so it looks like a lily pad. It's very flat, and those are very common in Peridot, because Peridot, it's one of the two only stone that is actually formed in the mantle. And
what
does
that mean? Lava, baby!
It means lava.
Yay!
So the other one is diamond. So they're formed really, really deep in the mantle, and they're brought back by magma, and so you find them in the lava. It's very surprising, because that's one of the way that we get Peridot on Earth, and the other one is through meteorites.
Yeah.
And considering that Peridot is like not the toughest stone, it's surprising. So that's how you see those like little lily pads. It's not that someone heat treated them. It's just their weight to us was pretty intense and.
But like meteorite quality must be full of fractures.
Well, no, because they find, I think it's partially formed when it comes.
Okay.
Like it's when it gets into the Earth's atmosphere, and you find them in like little large pieces, and usually they will slice them, and it's kind of like, like glass work. So it's more like specimen than actual
like quality gemstones.
Yeah, okay. And I think that the biggest one that GIA saw was like around 2 carat. It's tiny, or it's like included, but usually they'll slice them, they'll polish them, and it's like a cool thing to have.
I'm like super curious actually. So let's say like emeralds, you can identify where they're coming from based off of like the structure, like the way that it's formed, right?
Some inclusions will be from
like
different.
Could you tell the difference between Peridot coming from a meteorite?
Maybe not for all of them, but there's specific inclusions that they have. Like there's like coarse fingerprint, and there was another one that I don't remember, but they also have like specific inclusions that if they have them, you can tell where they're from. But I'm pretty sure with like advanced testing and all, they can probably, say, is it from the Earth or from the space? But some inclusions can also say it. There's going to be sometimes dark needles. It's widget, I think. It's very visible. But these, it's more like for collectors that really want this, like, to have these inclusions. But usually, like, this is the Peridot you see are eye clean.
I was reading these questions off the internet, but like I was basically reading that like you can kind of tell based off of specific inclusions are coming from certain regions.
Well, that's the case in a lot of gemstones. They'll find like the horsetail in demantoid, they say it's like automatically from Russia, but then the ones we have here, they're from the same formation. They also find with these needles, and they have the same inclusions. It's not the best way to find the origin, but so they sometimes, but lily pads, they all have like, it's not going to tell you where it's from. Okay. I think
because I guess it's formed in a very specific way, so it's going to have a very similar.
Yeah, but and it's like diamonds, they're just formed so deep, but then they can burst out anywhere. So the environment where they found could impact, but I wouldn't go as far as like being very precise on inclusions.
Okay.
But some of them, like Pakistan, I think they have the widget, but like lily pads are in every Peridot.
Everyone. Okay. They do come pretty much from everywhere. There's some in the US, like
There's
Asia, I think.
Yeah, like it's a big group, you know. There's Peridot, there's even we talked like the beaches in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
It is Peridot, but you're not gonna cut a stone for a ring out of. It's more like beach sand, but it's the same material. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's in China, Pakistan, Myanmar, the US. There's Peridot a lot of places. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And is it easy to trace? Like, say if somebody wanted, like, a lot of people want like that more ethical origin, or to at least know the origin. Is it a possibility to have that? Because
that's gonna depend on your supplier. Like
Yeah.
I know where these come from. I know like the calibrated goods I get, it's from Arizona, and then for the one of a kind single piece, I also have their origin. But if I don't disclose it, I think it's gonna be hard to like after trace
Yeah.
it back. But yeah, you can trace. I mean, I have the origins on most of them. There's a mining company in China that, because we were talking, because we often talk about ethics, and you asked, is there any ethical mines? So of course the US, they have regulations. I think it's only the people who live on that reserve that can mine. It's like artisanal mining, but surprisingly the other ethical source is China.
yeah.
So there's this company Fully that are like trying to find a way to mine Peridot in like zero waste type of concept. Peridot is brought back by the magma, and it's found in basalt rock. So it's the dried lava in the formation. So olivine, when it's crushed into sand like those beaches, it absorbs its own weight in carbon dioxide. They kind of separate the material. They do that with the olivine, crush it in sand, and use it for the environment to clean the air. And then with the basalt, it's rich in the nutrient, so the farmers can use it on their crops, and they can do like constructions with it.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
I mean, I don't have any from them, but I'm sure that if I ever, I don't know if they're mining, I don't know how, like, I talked to this person in Tucson. It's still, I think, at like research or about to be put, or maybe it's already, but if I have stones from there, of course, I'm going to have the origin.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because usually when you're buying like larger, nicer stones, they'll have the origin, but sometimes for like inexpensive stones like garnets, topaz, it's sometimes harder to find, because I feel like even just doing the paperwork, it's like more expensive than the actual material of the stone. Like, why would they take the time to do that, you know?
It's that, and it's also, I mean, if someone, like, I have a supplier, my supplier of amethyst and all, they always buy from the same origin, so it's easy to tell, okay, yeah, the amethysts are from there, the citrines are from there, and like if there's, but I don't take it as like, I don't give the origin, even if I have an idea, because I'm not 100% sure. But the thing with these stones, it's like they're bought by like tens of kilos.
Yeah.
And sometimes a supplier will buy 10 kilo from there, 10 kilo from there. They'll treat it, then they'll cut them, and then they'll sort them by colors or by and you like kind grade. Of lose it, because that's it. There's no, you have an idea, but it's hard to like guarantee and prove like, oh, this is from there. But Peridot, it's fairly easy.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, for me, because I know where they're from. Prices.
That kind of comes down to the available carat weights, right? I think these guys are a little bit harder to find in the same price point. Like, they do grow exponentially. Like, my question is basically because in comparison to, like, let's say people tend to put them in the same group as like citrin, topaz, amethyst, which always stay the same kind of in price no matter if you go higher. These guys are not the same.
They're not the same, but I would say maybe more like it's not rare to find big crystals. It's not like sapphires or emeralds, or but it's also not like amethyst. But Peridot will always go a little more per carat, but you can find bigger pieces, and even over maybe 15, 20 carats, they're going to be cheaper per carat, because they just want to sell the stone. We cannot sell a Peridot for like $100,000 if it's, if we keep going expensive. So at some point it goes down like quartz would. Okay. It's still pricier.
Okay. And you can still find good quality in those carat weights easily. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not like a super rare or like hard to find. Like recently I had to source 35 carat, but I find either 22 carat or 47 carat. Like they're not super, like you need to find something in the middle, like either an oval instead of a cushion, the right carat weight, or a bit bigger or a bit smaller. But it's possible.
It's not hard. If you have time, it's doable.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So as we said, it kind of goes up every time, but it's not that huge of like a step, and it doesn't reach like crazy prices. So for 1 carat, which is around this, we're talking maybe around 300 per carat. And then 2 carat will be maybe 300-400, and then it's gonna go to 500 for maybe 3-4 carat stone.
Okay.
Maybe to 700 per carat for like that range. And then over 15 carat, it's gonna go back down, or it's gonna stay at like a certain price.
Why don't they just cut them smaller?
I think they're thinking about the final price. Like instead of, because do you want to sell 2 and maybe sell one of them at a lower price, or put a better price on this big stone and sell it as one and keep it? Because when you cut gemstones in a rough, you really want to keep the most. Still think like it's a better move to cut one stone.
Yeah, you can sell it up to 40%, I think, right? When you're cutting a stone, 40%. So you
40-60%. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, cool. So Birefringence. I can't pronounce that at all. We're just gonna put it on the screen.
I can say it in French. It's the Birefringence, and if I want to try in English, I'll say Birefringence. I'll say it like that. But so we can say what it is. Gemstones will split the light waves in 2. As gemologists, we can measure speed at which they will change from the air through material, and that's how it gives us a rough idea of what material we have in front of us. And then that light that gets split in 2, we can see these 2 measures and have the difference between them, because that will also give us more information about what it is. That's what Birefringence is. I think if we say it very fast, no one will notice that we don't know what the word is.
Yeah. But basically, it's like when you look at the peridot from the top facet down, it's going to look like the lines of the facet appear to be doubled. And it's a really good indicator just to know if it's peridot or not.
Some other stones will do that. Zircon will do that. But it kind of gives, even when there's inclusions, if you have like a dark crystal, if you look at it closely, you'll see 2 of them, because it really doubles everything. So that's one of the way that we can identify if it's a peridot or tourmaline or sphene, I guess, or anything that is in that color range. But also under the microscope, so every facet, every line will be doubled. Often the inclusions in peridot will be like small little microscopic dots, and so if they're all doubled, it's gonna kind of give this like blurry, like it's you're not gonna be able to tell like why is it not as sparkly as it could. It's just kind of like blurry.
Yeah, like this is, I think, the perfect example of that. It's kind of like, it's a little bit blurry, a little bit muddied, and so this is what's happening, is it's reproducing all the inclusions.
They often describe the peridot look as like oily, and that's why this added to the fact that sometimes the surface can also be like altered.
And so now, speaking of like, this is a good way to identify it, are there any imitations on the market?
So I wouldn't say as much imitation as stones that can look like a peridot. I don't think you'll find a tourmaline sold as a peridot, or like vice versa. It's worth more, or the same, or so it's not. Peridot is not that expensive, so it doesn't get imitated, but Stones that could look like it would be some tourmalines, some demantoid garnets, but then again, you won't find these big size. But for a small stone on a ring, you could think it's demantoid, but then again,
a demantoid is very costly. It's
not everyone knows about it. So sphene can be bright green, but it's a fairly unique color.
Yeah, and then in terms of like cleaning it, because it is a little bit more finicky,
it's a sensitive,
more delicate to acids. And so, like, if you were to use, like, let's say, hand sanitizer, I suppose that would be not good.
I think that has, like, a scent, like, even lotion. If you're gonna go swimming in a pool, maybe take it off. It's just very sensitive. It's still easy to clean in a way that soft bristle toothbrush and some, like, dish soap would be fine, or like mild, not the dish soap that like they used to clean the ducks after, you know. I don't remember what's the brand. Use like something
like baby soap.
Yeah, like, you know, that's baby soap. Baby soap. Mild to soft soaps. And a soft bristle brush and like lukewarm water, you'll be fine. Don't put it in the ultrasonic. No steamer, because it's still a bit fragile. I would stick to just the good old toothbrush scrub.
Awesome. Okay, good. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. If ever you guys have any questions, do leave them down below. We always try to answer. And if you also like our short form content, we kind of put a little bit of like the highlights on our social media. So TikTok is Dominic Flex or Final Flex on Instagram. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll speak soon.